Go. All right, guys. Super pumped to get this thing out. Let's kind of tell people what we're doing. And I think Spencer, you might actually be the best qualified person to share.
Man, what are we doing? Well, to start off, we probably need to say what we have been doing, and the three of us have been together in community, as I call it, the 12-plus year gym owner support group. And once a quarter, we've gotten together to meet face to face, and it's been a amazing time to fellowship with each other, to listen to what the other two of you guys have had as successes, what you're struggling with, what challenges are. And one of the most affirming things to me is that I'm not the only one that has struggles, that although it's manifested in different ways for you guys, like each of us have great experience. And what I like to say is that, I'll be honest, when one of our employees would, I guess, chime in on a topic, I take that into consideration, but in the back of my mind, I say, yeah, but I've already done that. Or, yeah, but, you know, we did that 6 years ago. But I know when you two speak, like you speak with such credibility and authority that I really want to listen. So I'd say almost got going on 2 years, we've done this quarterly. And since shelter in place has happened and since the gyms have been shut down, we've been meeting on do you call it bi-weekly? We've been meeting twice a week.
You're the
for
PhD.
the entirety of it. And just recently we decided that these conversations that we're having wouldn't just benefit us, but they would benefit other gym owners, other guys that are going through similar aspects of shelter in place, or even just notwithstanding the pandemic, but just good practice for running a gym and running a health and wellness practice. And so that's where we are today. How did I do?
Yeah, man, that was amazing. Could we end it here?
Yeah. Good being
No,
with you
man,
guys.
that's great. So I think, you know, one of the best things we can do is there's going to be people that listen that have no idea who we are. And there's some people that maybe don't know completely our story. So Jeremy, why don't you kind of start out, introduce yourself, kind of give an intro to your background and what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of coming off of what Spencer said, is essentially we have over 30 plus years, almost 40 years of gym experience combined. And so we have three unique views of how businesses ran. You know, I came from strength conditioning world when I was a high school strength conditioning coach in college. Charlie comes from the PT world, and Spencer was under the tutelage of Charlie in College Station. And then we have all gone our different routes. I know Spencer's done the bobsled. Were you on the U.S. bobsled team?
That's the rumor. That was another life, though.
That was another life. You're on the CrossFit L1 certification staff. Charlie has been doing having babies left and right. Life experience. We all have children. So like the interweavings. But the one thing I've heard that stuck with me from a presenter in the past is he said, never trust a man that doesn't have scars. And what is unique about this group is that we all have our past experience that we bring to this group and bring to the large whole. None of us have walked a unscathed path. All of us have gone through the trials and tribulations of being a business owner, being married, having children, having employees, and figuring out how to go through good times and bad times. And we've all survived those. And so that in itself shows that we've been tried and true through the tough times, the good times, and continuing to pursue, especially now in the COVID-19 stage of reopening our gyms. And so from my standpoint, I've been in the gym industry as a business owner for 15 years. My sister and I, Carrie Kepler, founded CrossFit Central and dove head into it, started a family business. I started in parts with a CrossFit micro gym, grew that quickly into a 3,500 square foot space. We started with, 12 people in a park, went to a couple hundred people in a gym, and it took us about 9 years to grow that to 1,000 clients on site and at boot camps. And so from that in 2012 to where I'm 2020, really evaluating what my core values are, what my purpose is, and how I want to serve the larger, humanity, if you will. And so this has been a unique time because what I've seen from the Fittest Experience, a competition I've hosted for 13 years, we put it on pause by the grace of God this year, not because of COVID, but because of some foretelling of the shifts in the space. I just got word Wadapalooza is not being able to pay out their purses to their because their capital isn't flowing through. So it's just like, this is a unique time. And so we've been through different things with my events, my facilities, but now with what we're doing with our online business, Liftoff, what we're looking to do with True Coach, what we're doing with nutrition, remote, and interweaving all that. So that's where we're at, looking forward to. I'm really believing that the opportunity for ingenuity and creativity and the next decade of influence in the fitness market is on the precipice of like what happens next. And I really believe.
Hey, Jeremy, I want to unpack one thing you said. You went from 05, brand new, to 200 to 1,000 clients. And I think there's a lot of people listening. They're like, man, how in the heck do you have 1,000 clients? So can you unpack that process, that timeline a little bit?
Yep. So my whole deal was systemize, document, duplicate. So that was, I would teach that. I also taught business coaching, systemize, document, duplicate. So if you have the systems to attract the people, and then you hire the quality instructors to support the people, you can grow exponentially. Every individual has a natural ability to manage 150 people. That's why most gyms get stuck at 150, because a person, there's a book called Power versus Force that talks about the attraction of one individual, and most high performing people can manage 150. But if you want to expand and multiply, you must be a leader of other people that can attract 150. Very few people can reach that mark. You have to be at a certain level. Most coaches and trainers I've seen can manage like 60 to 80. And if you have 20 coaches that are all managing 60, 80 people, you can go to that 1,000-person mark. Now, there's a lot of shifts and changes that happen in the marketplace that why we pivoted. Now we service about 600 people. We average about 500 between me and my sister, 500 to 600 people a month. And that's what, we are focused on. And I can quickly dial that down to the staff members that we have and how we can support uniquely those 600 people.
What do you think's different about that era from, I would say it took you from 2005 until when, 2010 to get to 1,000 or 9?
It was about 2011 was our
11.
11
What's
to 12.
different? What's different about then and now in the affiliate space?
Oh, in the curve of affiliate growth and where we were, there was the micro gym explosion occurred 2012 to 2014. So that started to splinter up our membership because we had a lot of people commuting. And so that shifted the marketplace on what it was. And there was other entities that came in place, like Gladiator Bootcamp, shifted the whole bootcamp footprint because they started to offer a commodity service, cheap rates, a lot of people. We were charging 3 times what they were charging, and they disrupted the whole marketplace with their business model. So again, as things grow and mature, you have to pivot and change. And that's why I believe online is what's next. So as we have 400, online customers, we'll be able to exponentially grow that. So you got to look at the portal of service and how you can grow that exponentially. So the market,
and you're doing that in a new platform. Why don't you tell everybody what that is?
For sure. We're online now with the Liftoff Body program. We have Liftoff Go, which is our remote fitness program at a very affordable price of $19.99. We have nutrition coaching as well. And we're going to be offering True Coach services as well as we enroll. And now we're offering specialty programs, like we just launched Liftoff Gymnastics Core. We have the Liftoff High and Tight. This is more generalized functional fitness programming. And we're also going to be moving into functional bodybuilding as well. What's up, Spence?
So I had to get some
Spencer,
coffee. I was listening to everything you said, but
he was falling asleep.
That silk man, only Spencer could pull off.
So I will say this, just to high point a few things for people listening. Jeremy brings a lot to this group in the terms of not just has he grown an affiliate to what I would argue is some of the largest affiliates out there don't reach 1,000 people. He's put on a big event. I mean, fittest games, then fittest experience. What was the peak at size that last year that you had?
So last year we had right under 1,000, probably like 956 athletes, 3,000 spectators.
Yeah, so massive experience in the event space. And then, like you said, by the grace of God, canceled before all this happened, because your event would have fell right in the middle of all this. And you would have been, it would have been bad. And then now he's entering the online space with Liftoff Go and just tons of experience and all that. Spencer, why don't you give us your background, give us a kind of a overview of what you're doing or what you've been doing.
Well, I'd like to remind everyone that I'm the least experienced of the group here, but we've had an affiliate for 12 years now. Is that right? Yeah, it'll be, 12 years. God, you know what? Our anniversary came and went in the pandemic, I just realized. But anyway, 12 years. And my brother and I started it with a friend in 2008. And we, similar to what Jeremy described it, at a different direction, we expanded to not one, not two, not three, but 4 locations at one point, and benefited from the wave of expansion that CrossFit was in 2012, 2014. And then all of a sudden we had to figure out how to run a business, because there was a point in time where I thought, man, we are so good at this stuff. We get 15 people show up. We don't do anything. They just show up and they love it. And then you fast forward to, I would say 2016, 2017, whereas Jeremy was describing, the market became more saturated. I like to say that people figured out how to coach a really good group. And so it made us at least figure out, like, man, what is the right size? What is the right scope? What is the right amount of touch points that we wanted to give people? And for us, we decided that we wanted to be a really high touch service, and we needed to figure out more than just what we did in 2008 or even 2012. And how might we maintain like the sacredness of training together socially and in a group, but on the back end, how could we provide more individual support? And so I'd say for probably, as long as I've been meeting with you guys, probably even a little before, we've taken steps to try to become that business. And I think that the shelter in place and the pandemic has been a really great opportunity to almost sprint across the finish line to that business that we want to become.
What is give me, you have a little experience with CrossFit HQ seminar staff.
Yeah. So, Charlie and I went through our level 1 together, and it's true. I was one of Charlie's first employees as a personal trainer out of college. And that was a wonderful experience. And you and I kept in touch. And then I got into CrossFit through my brother Sam, and we decided that we would affiliate, we would open a gym, and we would go get our level 1. And I called you and I said, hey,
the whole reason I even ended up being a CrossFitter was because you invited me to the seminar.
And to Charlie's credit, he had never done a CrossFit workout when he showed up. I mean, incredible. And I guess what I was going to say was the level 1 was such a really special experience for me. And I had never been, as I'm sure most people, I had just never been through something like that with these really charismatic and captivating instructors. And I just decided, like, man, it would be really cool to be one of those guys. Because I still, to this day, I remember every single person that was at my level 1. I can tell you what gym they were at. I can tell you what their names are. Like, it was just this really like snapshot, vivid experience.
Well, you remember was Spieler did the 158 frame. Oh, yes. I think it was like right under 2. And it was butterfly. This was before even anybody talked about, it was crazy. But that was at our level 1.
Man, cutting edge. But anyways, long story short, like at that point in time, like the process to get on staff is a lot different than it was or is now. And so I went through the steps to do that at literally 6 months after we affiliated. And so yeah, I've been coaching the level ones and primarily the level twos since 2009. So going on 11 years for that as well.
Yeah. So you've kind of spent, I mean, well over 10,000 hours in the I mean, all of us, are doing CrossFit coaching now for over a decade, but you had to immerse yourself in the material. What do you think how does that translate into your business? Like, how has your experience on seminar staff been something that you could say immediately impacted your business?
There's a feedback mechanism that happens on the seminar staff where without fail, I get ripped every time I do a seminar, and I just expect it. I've done 172 level one and level twos combined. They're 10-hour days times 2. So you can do the math on how much feedback I've gotten. And that's molded me into a good coach. I don't like speaking in public. I'm an introvert, but I've learned to become this version of myself that I think has really helped in the group dynamic. And to be honest, I've just ripped off all that stuff that I was taught and have taught it to our coaches in turn. So a lot of the framework and the way that CrossFit puts instruction and coaching on a pedestal, I've tried to emulate. Obviously, there's been some tweaks and different iterations and directions as I kind of remix it and make it my own. But I'm indebted just to there isn't a group that is, say what you will about CrossFit, but the certification course, it's the only group in the world that teaches you how to manage a group with a barbell. There's nothing else like that in the world. And that I feel like has developed a skill set in me and my coaches as well that would be hard to replicate with some other type of experience. There's a reason that most other group fitnesses don't include a barbell, and it's because they don't know how to coach it. And I think that's one of the things that we all do really well.
One more thing, you mentioned 4 locations and now you're kind of at 1, right? So I know a lot of people who would watch this have either hoped to have multiple locations or maybe are owning a couple. What is it? What can you share in that transition from open 1 to 4 to back to 1?
There's a great book called Small Giants. And in that book, it gives these case studies after case studies of businesses that have very intentionally chosen to be a certain size. And I feel like as we expanded, now some of those, it can be misleading. It can almost sound like, oh, well, we went and with our own money opened these standalone locations. That's not necessarily true. There were a couple that were like that. There were 2 or 3 that we partnered with. So there were different scenarios each and every time. But there was a point in time where people would say, hey, if 1 is good, wouldn't it be great if you had 2? That was some of the advice that I got. And today I totally believe, like Jeremy said, with the right systems and with the right personnel in place, you can do that. But for us, it wasn't a good fit because it watered things down, and we would put somebody in charge. And this was, our fault to say, hey, you got it, right? You're good. You've seen us do this for years. You got it. And they didn't have it. And so expanding at that level and at that rate just taught us some really hard and valuable lessons on ultimately, what is the right size for the type of product that you want to provide. And I think what was incongruent is that we wanted to provide this really high level of service, but we weren't having the consistency from location to location. So would I do it again? Yeah, I think there's a way to do it. And the fact that I'm sadder and wiser, I think I could do it the right way. But yeah, some of those experiences were very costly in terms of not doing it the right way and not having, just to be honest, the right business practices and people in place.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome. Okay, I'll be quick on mine. Started personal training in 2003. I didn't know anything about really personal training back then. Had a guy that I worked for, and you guys know this story, but started private one-on-one training April 1st of 2003, fell in love with it. more so for the opportunity to build new relationships. And then in 2005, graduated from Texas A&M, started my own business, Train with Charlie. And that was basically me independently operating a training business out of a gym. And in 2008 was when Spencer and I went to the level 1. And I remember it was in the fall of 07 that you and I were hitting some bench press at the Aggieland Fitness Dome. And we were talking about the level 1. And, you know, he's absolutely right. I showed up, had never even gone to CrossFit.com or heard of CrossFit except for what you told me, paid $1,000. I remember them saying you need to familiarize yourself with the CrossFit Journal. So I printed the entire CrossFit Journal at Copy Corner. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's no way I can read all this stuff before, you know, the seminar. Got to my seminar, couldn't do one pull-up. And, you know, I come from a background of being kind of a fat, overweight, out of shape person. So I started my fitness journey at the year 2000. And by the time I started personal training was 2003, had gotten in better shape. But by the time it was 2008, I considered myself a really in shape guy. And but I got there, we did Fran, I did 21 thrusters and I couldn't do one pull up. And so that was, you know, that kind of ties in my story. Came back home, went to Dutch Loey's garage gym, worked out for a summer. He moved to Fort Worth. I affiliated, and really it was great because prior to 2008, I was 100% personal training business. 2005, I start by myself. By 2007, 8, I had 7 personal trainers, and we had about 100 to 110 clients we managed or we trained. And then CrossFit really exploded us. And I kind of rode the wave like you guys did. Being in College Station, you look at 2012, I mean, 70% of our members were college students. And I remember having a Bring a Friend week, and I kind of got that idea from Camp Gladiator. We did a Bring a Friend the week, and we signed up 80 people in 1 week. It was nuts. But, you know, that was in January. By May, they're all gone. You're kind of already going into the summer months, and there was this giant kind of constantly cyclical, having to get new people. And then, so CrossFit, I did the 2-location thing. I opened a second location in 2011, thinking that was going to expand our influence in town, only to close it down in 2014 for a lot of the reasons that what you shared, Spencer, and we can maybe unpack that on a different episode one time. But really, I would say, you know, I experienced the most growth personally in 2013 at Dave Ramsey's EntreLeadership Master Series. And that was a massive year for me. And I would say, because in 2014, I had a couple key leaders leave, open another gym. It wasn't in my town, but I had experienced the whole opening a gym in my market a couple times before that. These people actually, I believe, did it so respectfully. They went, 50 miles away. But nonetheless, I started realizing that my poor leadership was leading to some of this turnover. And Dave Ramsey, if you haven't read the book EntreLeadership, I would download it today on Audible or buy the hard copy. For that price, you can get the whole thing. I paid $10,000 to go to his seminar. It was 6 days, and it was worth every penny because it's still paying for itself now. And so that was a big aha for me when I realized, man, leadership is such a big part of owning and operating a gym. And that makes total sense right now to us three. But back in 2013, I was 7 years younger. I just turned 30, and I'd been owning a gym, leading people for 7 or 8 years, not even realizing how important it was to lead from the front, to communicate clearly, to set expectations, hold people accountable. And so that was a big, big year for me. And then kind of moving forward, I would say, now for us, we're doing private training in one side of our gym. It's a separate space, but under the same roof. And then we have a CrossFit gym and kind of doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. And so I'm excited for what we're about to do moving forward. I want to kind of highlight the 3 areas that I feel that we want to add value to people's lives with, and that's leadership, coaching, and business. And, you know, Jeremy, I want you to kind of, because I feel like you can communicate this very well, like I want you to describe the differences in those three and how you feel like some of the stuff that we're going to talk about is going to help people in those areas.
Charlie, on my side, you cut out just a little bit. So
yeah, highlight coaching and business.
Coaching
and
and business.
highlight the three of those things and the differences between them and how we can add value to people's lives based on what we're going to be doing here with our
Sure.
podcast.
So when we think about mentorship and we think about what that really means, is that somebody that went before you that has experience can mentor you to where they're at. No one can lead you past where they've been, and they have all the years in the history. And so when you look at leadership, you look at coaching, you look at business, we have a lot of experience in doing it right and doing it wrong. And so that allows us to be able to give you insights into where it might be, you know, that would be in best interest for you. And we have three unique individuals with different personalities and views of creating in the world what they do as a service. And so from that standpoint, Charlie, how would you like me to speak into that?
So talk about specifically like the value we can bring to people in those three areas.
Wow. You know, so as I did business coaching about 8 years ago, and what I learned is like, yeah, there's systems, there's duplication, you can teach it, but as a sole individual, if you can't lead yourself, you can have all the systems, you can have all the structures, but some point your lack of leadership will show up. You can have tons of success, but if you can't manage your character and yourself and lead yourself, that will show up and it will sabotage what it is that you're trying to achieve at some point. Then leadership goes from leading yourself to leading others. And so what I found is, yes, you can have phenomenal business systems, but if you don't have leadership, you cannot succeed. But if you have business systems without great coaching, you cannot succeed as well. And so we create this ecosystem of these three kind of circles that really feed into each other to become your best self and how you can produce the best for your people and serve your community. So, you know, as our experience feeds into this, you know, Spencer from his years of teaching people L1s, Charlie's experience from leadership and doing his things at his business, and mine as well, it just feeds into this, you know, kind of this funnel that it really allows people to get from our experience. And we are here, I think what we are in our lives, that where we are, we really understand service, and we want to serve people and bring people up that are hungry and desiring. And we want to do that through humility as well.
Awesome. So last question is, right now there's a lot of gyms opening up, right? This is a big week in our state, Texas. What is something that, you know, what is something you can give them right now, maybe that you're doing really applicable immediately for their state right now in their business? And that can be about coaching or leadership or business, either one.
Yeah, you know, you hear this all the time. It's very popular in past, and I think even more now, is the environment and how you're creating environment as a leader and understanding what positivity. So it's like we look at, where are people right now? Fearful. So what is that upside of that? Courage. So if you're fearful, you want to bring courage. You want to bring direction. You want to bring positivity in a space of negativity. And so our box can be an ecosystem and an environment of positivity and courage that will lead people to a higher ground that they can overcome in this time. So yes, CrossFit, yes, barbells, yes, workouts, but environment over that will cause attraction that will cause your business to grow. And for people to say, hey, word of mouth, you need to come here because they're doing something different than what you're hearing on Facebook and social media and the news. And people will be hungry for that. That's mine.
Yeah, love it. Spencer, what do you think?
Yeah, that's so good. And I echo what Jeremy says. And, you know, as I just finished coaching classes this morning, I can see that it's the embodiment of what Jeremy is saying, is that people are looking to us for the direction that they need to go. Now, before all this went down, I think that we all enjoyed being under an umbrella of best practices and more or less like we all prescribe to this model of CrossFit and group classes, and there's all these norms that's attached to it. But going forward, look, I think that shelter in place was the easy part. I really do. And I think this next step of opening our doors back up is going to force those of us that have our own values in place and know why that we're doing this. It's going to force us to go come up with this more unique version and expression of how we do it, because it's going to be based on the people that we actually see and the ways that we like step up to take care of them. And that's going to be less about what's mandated from, some franchise. And it's more like you, who you are, what's important to you, and how can you rise to the occasion. And I think just like be brave. I really do agree with what Jeremy said. It's like, be brave to be that person that people need right now, because what they don't need is even though they say this, they don't need you to go back to what it was before. Like, they need something better. They need what they need now, not what they needed pre-COVID. So I think that that's a big aspect. And then that leads me into the next point is like, well, what does that tangibly look like? What are things that we absolutely need to keep? And have you done that for your own business? Have you taken a step back and evaluated, like, this thing right here, it has to remain, and here's why? And then is there something else that you've evaluated and not really worried about what people think? You don't really care about making people happy. You care about doing what's best for them, which is a different set of circumstances. So I think there's that upper level mission and core values and purpose with why you're doing it. And then the ground level is, well, how's that actually expressed? And just to have the confidence to go and do those things when not everybody's going to be able to.
Yeah, I like that. Both of those points. I'm going to hit a different angle. I'm going to speak to your schedule and the way that you're going to manage your time now moving forward, because everybody for the last 2 months has had probably more flexibility and more margin in their day than ever before. And probably if you're a gym owner prior to this, you were living on the hamster wheel, responding to everything as it came in. You were constantly go, go, go. And now it's your opportunity to really create what I'm going to say is structure in your day, so that things that need to get done actually get done, as opposed to you ending the week, you haven't done XYZ, right? Programming, writing content, shooting videos, doing whatever it is. And then now you're stuck on Saturdays and Sundays, cramming, feeling the pressure of, I haven't done this. And that's really because you've been irresponsible with managing your time throughout the week. And so you can always do things on weekends. I know everybody's in different circumstances, but for me, I have 4 kids, I have a family. And so weekends are really protected for them. And so I have to be massively productive during the week in the hours that I have to give my business. And so now is a great opportunity, if you haven't already done this, to create schedule. When are you going to work out? When are you going to work on systems? When are you going to work on marketing? When are you going to work on meeting with employees? When are you going to work on, creating content? And so really this is a great time, guys, to really start fresh, start new, have a fixed schedule, and then, be disciplined and stick to it. Just like writing a program and doing the warm up or doing the cool down. It's important to have that. So guys, this is the first episode. We're going to be committed to just providing you guys with content. Our goal right now is to do this once a week. And if you got things that you want to hear about, then just, comment or let us know, reach out to either one of us personally. So cool, guys. Awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.